Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good too. So it's been so long. We have been trying to connect and
Yeah, no, I I had some personal things for a while, but
I welcome you and I'm really grateful to you that you are here and sharing your time with us and discussing about your experiences and your journey as an animator till now.
thank you.
Mm.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
And I would really like to understand like how you started your animation journey, how you became an animator. Was that something in your mind from your childhood, or was it something somebody put in, or what is it?
So I'm originally from Israel. I grew up there. And when I was in high school in Israel, you pick majors, like subjects to focus on. So I was in an art class. That was like my main major, and then I also majored in computer science. And I was also working at the movie theater at the time after school hours. And it was in 2010, and it was a really, really good year for movies. There was Tangled that came out, which was phenomenal, and a big reason why I decided to become an animator. Toy Story 3. There was Shutter Island, Scott Pilgrim, like a ton of just great movies. But it was when people would come out of the animated films and I would ask the kids, how did you like it? And their parents would push them aside and they're like, it's amazing. So I kind of realized animation is a very strong tool to communicate with everyone, not just kids, just like everyone around the world. And it combined everything I love, like art, computers, and film. And then I was like, wait, maybe I can do this for a living. So that's when it started, but it took a few years until I actually went on and did it. In Israel, we go to the military first; it's mandatory, and then after that, I traveled. I really loved traveling, and I wanted to continue doing it, but I also needed money. So then I became a flight attendant for 2 years.
Okay.
And during that, I started building my portfolio, and also thanks to the flight attendant, I was able to go see schools abroad and stuff like that, and without paying to fly.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, and somehow I ended up studying at Ringling College, and
Okay.
I've been at DreamWorks for 2.5 years now. So
So,
yeah.
so you finished up your studies in animation and then you got into this industry.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Because most of like there are a lot of people who actually don't know anything about animation, and then suddenly somebody pops in into their life and they tell
Yeah.
that okay, this is a career, or maybe they get some breakthrough. They watch some videos or something like that and they come to know that okay, animation is a career, let me check.
Well,
Like,
well, for me, that was when I was working in the movie theater. When I saw movie after movie and seeing the animated movies, and that's when something clicked. I was like, this can be a job. Until then, I didn't even think about it as a career. I didn't think about it as an option.
so
Um,
what do you think how your life would have been if it would not have been as an animator?
I probably would still be in the arts in some way. I really like crafting and like doodling and stuff, so I think I would still be doing something artistic. I don't know to say exactly what. I like throughout high school, I went through a lot of oh, I'm gonna be this, oh, I'm gonna be that, and then and then I become 100% dedicated to it. But when I got to that stage of animation, it just stuck, and um, yeah. So I think I would just still be in the arts.
But then how did you get into DreamWorks? What was the journey? Was that your
Uh,
first thing, or
it's my first full time employment, but I did have internships before and worked on all kinds of projects. So my first internship was between my junior and senior year. No, sorry, between my sophomore and junior year, so second and third year of school. Um, I worked with, well, actually, my partner. He's also in the industry. He's more on the technical side, and he's more in games. So he was developing a game with a group of people. It's called Fort Triumph.
hmm.
Um, and I got to do some animation for that. And then the summer after, I got an internship at Hasbro. It's a really big toy company. They own My Little Pony and Transformers and all of, like, Monopoly is theirs. So I worked there. And that internship was more of a generalist position. So I did animation, but I also did other things. And that's when I realized I didn't want to do other things. And I wanted to focus on animation. And then when I graduated in 2020 during the pandemic. So I had an online internship with Riot Games, and I worked on some of the main characters, Rel, Dr. Muno, and Diego. And that was a lot of fun. Honestly, if I didn't have the opportunity to go to feature, I would have gladly stayed there. They treated me super nice. It was really, really fun. But then I got the offer from DreamWorks, and I've been there since.
So can you share something about your work, or can you show us something which you have worked on, so that these beginners and all these fresher animators get really inspired to get into this industry? So can you share some of your work, what you did in these times where you have been into the industry as an animator?
Yeah, so I have a few things. I have some stuff that I already shared from Puss In Boots on social media, and I can show a little bit of that. And the process, I use a lot of reference for my planning. And then I can show some stuff for my thesis film. It's called the Train To Quiling.
So this is the Puss In Boots, the current one which you're talking about? Okay.
Well, right now I'm on a different film that we're going to finish soon.
Okay.
But the film
which
that I completed previously was, Puss In Boots.
Yes.
And then I also have my thesis film, which is the work of my film is what got me the opportunities. So while it's a student film, it got a lot of awards and stuff. So I guess it's all right. It could have been better, obviously, but I'm happy with what it is. And I can show some of my process on that. For the thesis film, I did everything, so it's not just animation. I did the story, the designs, the modeling, texturing, rig, animation, rendering, lighting, everything.
Okay. So you know everything. It's not only animation. Oh.
I studied everything. I know how to do everything, but my specialization is definitely animation. That's what I've been doing for my job. So for the past 2.5 years, I've pretty much only been doing animation. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. So definitely you can share something you have done, something to inspire people and to get into the industry.
So how about I show my my reel that I got into DreamWorks with first, and then we can look at stuff that I did on Puss In Boots, and we can see like how much I became.
Yes.
The growth.
Yes.
All right. All right. So this is my website, and I didn't update my reel yet. So this is actually the reel I got into DreamWorks with. So I'm just gonna play it. I don't know. Does the sound work if I just play it?
Sound? Can you play it? Yes, the sound is there.
Sorry, I think it's coming from the wrong place. Okay, is it still? Do you still hear it? Still working?
Now the sound is not there.
Yeah, you were hearing it actually from the microphones, but so it's not going to be clean if I do it that way. Do you know how to share the sound?
When you share the screen, there will be an option for sharing the sound as well. So you can maybe stop sharing the screen, and again when you share on the bottom corner, you will have an option.
Yeah, share sound. Share. Do you see this? Oh, whoops, wrong one. Let me do that again. And share sound. Share. Cool. All right.
loss of cabin pressure could have been...
Not again.
The flight. Oxygen masks will...
Boring.
That's it! I'm done! Good luck surviving! And have a safe flight.
Did anybody listen to her?
So you did the whole thing, modeling stuff and
So the stuff in the train, the Panda and the Girl, that's for my thesis film, and for that I did everything. Actually, yes, also this I did everything because this was also a school assignment. So everything you see here is from school, and I did all of it, yeah. Except for the music, obviously. But
okay. So you created everything for in this.
yes.
That's really great. Seems
Thank you.
you are quite an emotional person.
I definitely prefer the whimsical
I
type things.
can see it in your story, right? And that's what I believe. That's what I believe, that any animator who comes into the industry, he should or she should have a showreel which shows who you are. Like, it's not just copying things from different stuffs. It's about what you are, like what you really love. You have to show that thing to the people.
Yeah, 100%. And if you haven't noticed, so a few things that I mentioned from my past is that I really loved traveling and that I was a flight attendant. So
Yes.
before I became a flight attendant, I traveled in Asia. I was there for 3 months. I was backpacking. Half of that was just China. And my thesis film is based on an experience I had in China. So that's where a lot of this comes from. It's very inspired by just my life experiences. And then obviously the flight attendant, this was an assignment where we were supposed to do a caricature of ourselves. This, of course, I had to pull from my own life, but I think that the best stories come from your experiences. So that's why I think it's really important to also live, not just work, because if you just work, you won't have any stories to tell.
Yes. It's all about telling a story. And I don't know, but somehow when I just saw your showreel, it felt like this is you. Like, somehow
It
it
is.
felt connecting that yes, this is you. I don't know what exactly you went through and the challenges and right, but it connects with the people.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
It's not
thank you.
something to copy, and this is what the major problem I see among the freshers, that here they try to copy the things from others' showreel. And what I feel is that should not be the right way of learning things.
I think it's not a problem to be inspired and take inspiration from others.
Yes,
but
inspiration
it
is
does,
a different thing. Like, I feel they should
of
get
course,
inspired, but they should not copy exactly frame by frame.
100%.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a process, and again, I think that what stands out at the end is the idea.
Yes.
The execution needs to support that, but the idea is what really stands out. I agree with you. I can show a little bit of the process for my film.
Yes, absolutely.
It was actually it was in the Rookies Awards. So,
but this is really nice. This is really nice.
You.
I loved it.
Thank you. So if anyone wants to watch it, you can just search the name, and it will pop up on YouTube or whatever. But you can also see it on the Rookies page. And then, so as I mentioned, it was inspired by my experiences traveling. So I think it's just a big part of me and bringing that to life. As part of the development, we had to come up with designs. So you can see that it's not just you draw one thing and that's what you end up with. I went through a lot of different explorations, and what I ended up deciding on was actually this character, which is not how he looks at the end. Because
Yes.
once I got into 3D, I saw that it wasn't working that well with those little eyes and everything. So then he transformed into something a little different. And then this is my girl character that's obviously a little based on me and my roots, and I wanted to really bring my world into this. So originally she was supposed to also have this really big shawl, but I knew that once I get into 3D, I'm gonna die. So I just left a little bit of fabric instead of the whole thing. And then just even the designs of the tops and everything. And then this was the model.
Did
and
you
textures.
do this model or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. That you are what I can say. You are an all-rounder.
Well, I probably wouldn't be able to do this now because I didn't touch these things for a while.
Yeah.
But I should go back to it because I did enjoy doing the other stuff. I just don't enjoy doing it as a job. I think as a hobby, doing the other stuff is fun. But animation, I'm really happy it's my job.
Yeah.
And this is, once we break, we have to do just a quick test to see if it can move and everything. So it's just a little test. Same with the panda.
So rigging and stuff, is that also done by you?
Yeah.
You're
Sorry.
crazy then.
I mean, we did have the support of school. I had a lot of people that guided and mentored me along the way. Yes, I did this at the end, but no one can do everything alone.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
have to know to reach out and also help others because, just like you want to get help from others, you have to give help. And I owe big thanks to a lot of people along the way, like at DreamWorks, at school. I have a good friend, Liran Topaz. He took me under his wing for my last year of school and mentored me. He's now a co-director at DreamWorks, but he was an animator at DreamWorks before, a supervisor, and I owe him a big thank you. So there are some examples here for what a final rendered frame looks like, but the process of it. So there's also like a color key before we actually light it. I had to come up with what the lighting would look like, what I wanted to look like, and for that is a storyboard. I'm not very good at storyboarding, so there's one thing. Same here. Yeah. So this versus the storyboard. Oh, what happened? That shouldn't happen. Yeah, some color keys versus how it ended up being in lighting. That's it. That's what I have for my film.
This is really interesting.
Thanks. And then I can show you some stuff I did on Puss In Boots. So this is now.
So if this is you shared, so if you would just quickly get into the process, like shortly, if you can explain the process, how did you start and how did it went out to that final output, right? Beginning from the scratch.
Yeah. So in the second semester of junior year, we had to develop the idea of the film and everything. So the storyboards, the visual development, all of that. And we did 2 packets. So you actually develop 2 full short films. It's my film is like 2.5 minutes, which is the limit that they allow. So we had to develop 2 ideas, and then at the end, the teachers will pick one, and like the professor would pick one, and that's what you would focus on creating senior year. So for half a year, you develop storyboards, visual development, all the pre-production, and then for the final year of school, you actually create it in 3D. One of the pitches I did with another friend, Martin Lemons. He's working with me at DreamWorks now, and that's not the one we ended up going with. I think we just decided that we each had something else that we wanted to express in our films. So we ended up going with our second pitches that we did alone. So one pitch we did by ourselves, and then one pitch we did together. Yeah, I actually have just a few designs from that one. So these are from the pitch that we did together. It was a story about like a mom and a daughter, and like two siblings. But yeah, the story was never really finished. But these are some designs that we did for it. Yeah, this is a drawing that he made, the one over here in the corner.
Yes.
Yeah. And then these drawings I made. So this was the second pitch, and this is the one I ended up going with. Senior year, we came back, and we had to now create it. I actually started, just to get a head start, I started modeling the characters. So doing these without the fur, just the basics, without textures, without anything. I started modeling it over the summer before the year started, which was important because I didn't like the story that I ended up with during after my third year. I didn't feel like it was what I wanted, and sometimes it's easy to get derailed because you have a lot of opinions, and you have a lot of critiques from professors, and
Yes.
And you hear a lot of voices, and sometimes it's easy to just get pulled in a direction that it just becomes not your story anymore.
Yes.
So it's really important for me to pull it back. So I actually redid the storyboards. I took like 2 or 3 passes in the beginning of that year, as quickly as possible, and then just like started as we went. That's also part of the reason why the storyboards are so rough. So I had the models from the summer, started doing storyboards again, and then we had to texture, so I did that in the beginning of the year. After I actually have the process there. What's this one? Yeah. So our first thing is the animatic, so you have to show the animatic and get that approved. So that's the story. Then it goes to modeling and rig. So this is what I showed you already, just the models, and they were rigged. And then after that, layout. So we have to create the layout for the whole film. This is when we actually put in the world, and a lot of the set isn't finished. It's just placeholders like blocks and stuff. And then you slowly model that and finish the set as you go. There's no real time dedicated specifically for that. And then you start the animation, and you go all the way to, then you do the lighting. So for the lighting, we do the color keys first, which means I made the paintings being like, okay, this is kind of what I want for the lighting in each setup.
Okay.
And then you create the final lighting for each of them. We used Nuke to do the compositing. So as you can see, this isn't the final. Like you can see how burnt it is here and stuff. So I think this was the first pass.
Okay.
And then we end up doing first pass animation, second pass animation. All this time, we also improve everything else around it, and then we finish. I can show an example of animatic.
So how
this
much
is more for
time?
animation.
So
Yeah.
how much time did it take to complete this whole thing right from the scratch?
Year and a half. But again, we had 2 pitches, so a little less than a year and a half, I would say.
Okay, so a year you took to finish this project.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, good, but the quality is really nice, and
Thank you.
it's mainly, it shows you that is very connecting to the people.
Yeah,
Right?
I agree. I think it's very me. I mean, even the characters is based on me and my background, and
Yes. Like immediately while talking to you, it gets connected that it is something that is you. It's not like one thing is we do the animation really well. We show as an animator, we show that yes, I'm really good into animation. but
Yeah.
it's also about what are you delivering into that animation. Does it have a story, or you are just
Yeah.
putting some assignments and showing some animation? So
Right.
that is also one way, but if you can do something with your own story, then that's a really good thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. I have an example here of a process of just a shot that I had in my phone. So this is what it would look like in storyboard. Then this was layout. Originally, my panda was much larger, so he was looking down at her. But that was something that I changed. So this was just where the camera is, and she kind of, moves. You can see that it's not really clean in any
Yeah.
way. Then I shot reference for it. And then this is the first pass animation. And at this point, the panda was already smaller. So you can see the camera went down. And now she's looking a little lower to him.
Yes, yes.
This is sort of second pass animation. This shot I never really finished, but yeah. And then with lighting and everything, it ended up. Like this. That's it. So that's just
Great.
an example.
When you see the final thing, then it's really it appeals so much to the audience.
Thank you. So do you want me to show you some Puss in Boots stuff?
Yes, it definitely.
So I recently shared
So
one of my shots. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
yes, we can get into this, and then maybe we can have something more.
So I recently shared this chunk that I did on Puss in Boots. It's when Perito shares about his backstory, and I shared my reference for it. So as I mentioned, I use reference to plan my shots out. I take many takes. I try a lot of different things. If it's not working, I go back and do reference. Some shots or some characters don't work as well with reference, and that's fine. But when I can, I do use reference, even just for myself to move and act something out and get the idea. I also doodle a lot of times, but my doodles are very rough. They're like circle, line, okay. It's just like me trying to think, and I think as I make scribbles. So yeah, we can see.
They tried putting me in a packing crate, a dumpster. No matter how hard they try, I'd always find them. So one day, they get creative, and they put me in a sock with a rock in it, and then throw me in a river. I gnawed a hole in the sock, and I swam to the surface. Never found them.
So the guy there is actually my partner, Guy. That's his name. He helps me out with
Putting me in a packing crate, a dumpster. No matter how hard they try, I'd always find them. So one day, they get creative, and they put me in a sock with a rock in it, and then throw me in a river. I gnawed a hole in the sock, and I swam to the surface. Never found them.
So this chunk was supervised by Perito's lead. His name is Julian Bokovic. I worked a lot with him. Honestly, I learned a lot from him. So yeah, this is it.
This is really nice. So you do a lot of referencing when it comes to doing the animation.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how do you plan it? Like, what is the thing that you see that it should get delivered for the performance?
So as I mentioned, I try a lot of different things. You do always have to think about the subtext, like not just what is being said, but what's going on through the character's head and what are they feeling. what did they just where did they just come from? Like, did they just come from outside and it's pretty chilly, so they're just rubbing their hands, or it's little details like that that really bring them alive. And I think that sometimes also through reference, you do all kinds of things when you start doing it yourself that you don't actually think about. For example, when I did this shot, it's a small detail and it could have been better probably, but for example, in this one,
They tried to create a dumb
I did this thing with my eyes where I look up and then I kind of squeeze them, and I thought it was very specific. So I wanted to get that into the shot.
a dumpster, no matter how hard packing crate, a dumpster, no matter
And that's something I wouldn't just think about doing if I didn't do reference. With the, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a lot about subtext, just figuring out, trying to understand that they're actually, you have to bring life into them. So you have actual living things, and what would a living cat or dog or a kitty do or think or feel in this situation when Perito's telling this story? What's going on through their head? And later on in the film, Puss, he gets really annoyed by his beard and he gets it shaved off. So I put a little scratch here to already show that it's kind of
how hard
bugging
they try,
him.
I'd always find them.
Later.
So one day they get creative. Rock in a river.
Yeah.
Throw me in a river.
It's small things like that that just, a character doesn't just walk and walk. When you walk, you think, you look around, things happen through your head. Oh, you have a little itch, you don't even notice, but you like scratch your leg or stuff like that. And those are the things that make it very specific and more, brings them more alive.
You have been you might have been into all different kind of projects as well, and you would have done a lot of animations. So what is it like? What do you feel that about one of a project which you really found interesting, or you have some experience which you cannot forget about that project or about that animation you did?
I do really enjoy my job right now. And I really enjoyed working on Puss in Boots. It was the first film I really had full shots in, because when I joined the company, Boss Baby was wrapping up, and all the new hires, we were put on Boss Baby CP, so that's the marketing part of it. So we did some animation for things that they put on Twitter or little banners and stuff like that. Then I was supposed to go on Puss in Boots, but there were some issues with the story, and it went back and they fixed a lot of things. So they had to quickly readjust, and I ended up going on Trolls Holiday in Harmony. It's the Trolls Holiday Special too. So that's like a movie, but it was a short film that went straight to streaming. And then Puss in Boots. So it does hold a very, very special place in my heart. The people on it, the team, were amazing. I learned a ton. Everyone was just so supportive, and I think it was just a really good movie to work on, and I'm really happy this is like my first film. But I did have a great time also. My internship at Riot was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It felt like I was a part of it, and they actually were interested in hearing what I had to say and open to my ideas, and it was just really fun. It's much smaller teams. When you work on a character, you have what's called a pod. So there would be one animator and one effects artist and one modeler, so like a little bit of each thing. And together you work and you try to create this consistent character. You try to think, okay, this is the character. How do we bring this character in the design of it, in the modeling of it, in the effects, and in the animation? And I had a mentor in each one of them, but I really felt like they trusted me and they gave me a lot to do there.
So when you started learning, at that time, did you have this thought that yes, I want to become an animator, or was that you went with the process and then you figured out that yes, this is the something which I need to specialize in?
I thought I want to do animation.
Okay.
I did go to a lot of talks and did a lot of research and asked a lot of questions, read a lot of things. So I knew what the pipeline is like. I knew what things are like, and I thought that animation is what I want to do. But I kept my mind open. I really enjoyed modeling. I think I'm also pretty good at it. I mean, because I have kind of a technical brain. Like
Mm.
I was really good in geometry, so somehow because of the topology and everything, I always knew how to figure out all the topology for characters, and I felt like it's a little riddle, so it was kind of fun. And so there was a little moment where I thought about that, and a few companies that came and interviewed us. I was applying for animation, and they kept asking me about VizDev and said that my portfolio is really good for VizDev. But I still don't think I'm good enough at VizDev. I think that if I have a lot of time, I can do one piece that is really good. But to be a VizDev artist, you need more than just that.
Yes.
So I think animation it was specifically at Hasbro that I really realized that I don't want to do anything else. Because every day I was coming into office and asking, so do I have animation today? And every time they said no, I would be like, damn it. I learned a lot from that internship and it helped me with my thesis because I learned a lot of things, but I definitely learned also that I don't want to be a generalist and I wanted to focus on animation.
Yes, yes, yes. So what do you think? What would you suggest to somebody who is really wanting to get into the animation and he knows that he wants to become an animator? So what would
Mhm.
you suggest? Should he be or she be learning only animation, like getting into mentorship and learning it specifically, right from the basics till the advanced, whatever we call like in the right way, or they should learn all the stuff which we have in animation?
So as I mentioned, I'm originally not from the US.
Mm.
So I can tell you that visas in the US are very, very difficult.
Mm.
So you also have to be realistic, um, which means that wherever you are, you need to figure out what job opportunities exist. If there are no job opportunities that are specifically animation, and there are a lot of job opportunities that are generalists, then maybe it's good to know a little bit of everything. But if you do have the opportunities are out there, and you know what you want to do, I would say just focus on that one thing. There's no reason to waste your time on other things if there's enough work and yeah, and you know what you want to do. And there are a lot of great online schools for animation. Yeah, it's just the US specifically is really hard with visas. Canada is a little bit better, also difficult, but not like the US. And I'm not sure about Europe.
Okay, so you mean to say US has really, really the fee structure is really uh, high.
Very tough. It's yeah, it's just there's a lot of luck in it too, and it's very difficult.
So how did
Yeah.
you manage to get into that whole stuff?
Well, I didn't know that I would stay here. I knew I wanted to study animation, and I knew I wanted to experience the big studios, and so I wanted to first of all study in the best place that I could,
Hmm.
which in this case was Ringgold College.
Hmm.
And then uh, through that, through the student visa, you get like an internship visa. It's like part of the student visa, and you can work between 1 to 3 years. There are all kinds of things that go into that, but it's between 1 and 3 years that you get through that. So I knew that I would be able to like intern in companies if I find the opportunity. But then I got to DreamWorks and they applied for an H-1B for me, which is a work permit. But also that's a lottery. Even if you are eligible and everything,
Hmm.
it's only 1 out of 4 that actually gets it. But I was lucky and I got it. So now I'm on an H-1B.
So
more confusing.
what is the process? Like, what is the process of your education thing in animation? If I talk about US, then how do you move with it? Like, is it like anybody can learn, or do they have some specifics requirement from the person who really
Yeah.
want to get into learning animation?
You need a portfolio for most schools. Some schools will just look at your grades and maybe accept you, but most schools they require a portfolio. They look at your portfolio and decide who to accept or who not to accept. Or if they really like your portfolio, they might accept you with a scholarship. Schools in the US are very, very expensive, like way too expensive.
Okay.
That was another big hurdle, and I found very special people that were willing to help me financially. But if I wouldn't have that, I would not have been here. So there's a ton of luck that goes into these kinds of things. But also, I do believe that you make your luck. If I would just sit around and hope that something will work
Yes.
out, it wouldn't work out.
Yes.
I actively talked to everyone I could think of, and I just pushed and pushed and pushed in all directions. And I was lucky, and it worked out. It could have not worked out.
Okay.
Yeah, until the last day of registration to school, I didn't know if I would go or not. But when it comes to applying, yeah, you just have to build a portfolio. Every school has on their website what they want to see, and then you can put a lot of things that are extra. But there are things like they want to see figure drawing, or they want to see, I don't even remember, it's been a while. Sheridan in Canada is another school that has animation. They have even more specific requirements. They ask for specific assignments. Like they tell you, do a storyboard of this and that. I don't remember exactly, but they ask for things that are very specific, which I didn't think would be a problem because I just used those assignments and applied with those assignments to other schools too. So it wasn't like I was wasting my time just for the one school. CalArts asks for a filled sketchbook. I didn't want to apply to CalArts because their focus is 2D, and I knew that I wanted to do animation, and there isn't a lot of 2D animation nowadays. But if someone wants to do storyboarding or something like that, CalArts is a really good school for that. It's not that they're not good for animation, I just think that there aren't enough jobs in 2D.
So they shortlist people whom they really want to teach. So they already know that these guys are into the art background and they have some artistic abilities, right? Is that what they look for before getting into that?
Yes. Well, they want to see that you have a basic level.
Okay.
But the first year of school was all about bringing all the different levels to a starting point. So the first year, you're actually mixed with other majors. We weren't only animation students. We were animation with illustration, with I don't remember what else, but we were a few majors studying together, and we learned things like perspective. We had figure drawing. We had composition, stuff like that, which are more basic artistically. And then we also had 2D animation, which was specific for animation. And then when we moved to the second year, they changed the curriculum a little bit. Now they start some modeling in the first year. But when I was there, you enter the second year, and that's the first time you touch Maya.
Okay.
So they first brought everyone to a certain level.
So is it like you guys also there, the production thing is Maya only for the studios there, or do they have something different? Like if I talk about DreamWorks, they might be having something else. But if I talk about as a universal this thing, then Maya is the thing which you get to learn while you are into school.
Maya is what we learned with. Maya is the most popular right now in the industry, but there are studios that have different programs. For example, Pixar has Presto, and DreamWorks has Primo. And yeah, so some studios have proprietary softwares, but Sony, for example, uses Maya. And I think that in the industry, they kind of assume, Maya and the transition is usually based on that. They'll be able to like, oh yeah, it's like Maya, and it's like this in Maya, for example. I think Maya is a good software to know if you want to get into animation. Is that what you were
So
asking?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So what is the most challenging thing becoming an animator? So now you are an animator. What do you feel is the most challenging thing you face every time as an animator?
Hmm. Yes, when something isn't working. uh,
That means you are easy
you,
to go with. You feel like, yes, this is what I can do. I can do anything in this animation.
no, I not at all. There's so much to learn, and I work with
Yes,
people
yes,
that have
you
been in the
can
industry for like
learn.
20 years. So there's
Yes,
yeah, and then I look back on some shots and I'm like, what was I thinking? Or oh no, there's a pop here, but I
yes,
can't fix it because it's already in the movie.
yes.
But sometimes there will be shots like now I'm on something like that. There will be shots where they just go in circles and circles until you find the solution, and it's just part of it. And yeah, but it's the challenge that makes it fun. Because if it was not hard at all, if everything would just come easily, kind of boring. I don't know. Then what are you learning?
Yes, yes, yes. Learning
um,
is something you will
yeah,
do. Learning is
yeah,
something which you have to do it like till you move on.
yeah,
Whatever your experience is, you still have to learn. That is
yeah,
what animation is, and that is what every stuff is. Like
yeah.
nobody can be perfect at anything. There has to be feedbacks to improve ourselves constantly. So that is the thing. And if I ask you about the timeline that you get to do an animation, suppose if I give you an example, suppose you have a shot which is around 5 to 6 seconds. So how do they give you the timeline? Is it on the basis of what things you have to animate or what is the performance you have to deliver? Or is it like only according to the timeline or it's 6 seconds, so you should be finishing in this much amount of time?
It's both.
Okay.
Generally, the average is between 5 to 6 feet a week. A foot is 16 frames per second. Sorry, a foot is 16 frames. This is how DreamWorks works. They work by feet, so we do 5 to 6 ish feet a week. Um, but if you have a very challenging shot or chunk, and then like a ton of characters or something that has a lot of constraints and stuff like that, then they will give you more time. And on the contrary, like if there's something super super simple, they're not going to give you the whole full amount of time. So it balances out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That. And how do you get into this? Suppose if you get a shot, so what is your process? How do you start it?
I start by
Suppose you
thinking.
have suppose you have four
Yeah.
months for a specific shot.
We don't have
No, I am
4 months.
just imagining, just giving you an
Yeah.
example. So suppose you have 4 months to do something. So how would you divide
Yeah.
your time to for the planning for doing this thing and that way?
So say I get a chunk. A chunk means a few shots that come one after the other. That's how DreamWorks usually does it. They give
Yes.
you chunks. So and I have 4 weeks, not 4 months. Then the production usually also tells you what your milestones are. So when blocking should be due, when next pass should be due, when close to final should be due. The thing is that those don't truly matter. What really, really matters is the final date. So if you are someone who likes to block for longer and really, really work on the poses and make them perfect, then you can take or it's just the shot, the specific shot you're working on needs more time. You can take more time for blocking and then have less time for the other passes. It's really up to you. But they give you some kind of milestone. I usually kind of follow those milestones. It gives me a good thing to follow and not get too scattered. But yeah, but not perfectly. Um, I start by just taking. Usually, the first day after I'm launched, I do nothing, and I think I doodle a little bit. I like try to figure out what I want to do. I check that the shots are all set up correctly. Because sometimes, you know, you get the shot and they have the characters in it. Sometimes one of the characters is missing. Sometimes the camera is placed weird, or
Yes.
sometimes it's not even set up. It doesn't even open up. So it should all be there. But sometimes there are issues, and then you take care of
Yes.
those things. So the first day, 2 days, that's what I do. And the second, third day, I work a lot on reference, on ideas, like start putting some main poses in. A lot of times I'll go back and do reference. It's just figuring things out still. And then the blocking phase doesn't usually, like, if I know exactly what I'm doing, it doesn't need to take too much time, but it also depends on the shot. If it's a shot with a lot of constraints and stuff like that, I like to plan out all of those things and start to set up the locators and all the things that I'll need. And I like to set it up in blocking phase. I don't like waiting with that because it could get a little messy if I wait too long. And then, I keep working on blocking for a few days. I think about half of the time, of the full time, is first pass. Is like coming up with the idea and blocking everything. So about half of the time is what I take. I show, I get feedback, then the next time I'll usually show it in spline. Sometimes I'll already have it on spline. It depends on the shot again. Some people have very specific ways that they work. For me, I feel like I change it depending on the shot. So it's not always exactly the same. I am someone who likes using reference a lot for the idea part, but other than that, I'm pretty like I change a lot of things. Kind of layer stuff in, so I'll have poses, but sometimes I won't break down the finger poses. I'll do that later. Like I'll have some kind of basic pose there, but then I won't adjust it for every pose. Because I'm just trying to get the idea approved before I start perfecting every pose. But that's me. Not everyone works that way.
Yes, yes.
And good and bad, you know, like maybe people see it and they're like, oh, this pose isn't very good. But for me, it's just a way to get through it as quickly as possible and not waste time on something that might change.
So if you can share, if it is okay with you, to share the context behind what you did, the short which you shared for Puss in Boots. So the references which you have finalized. So if you could share the context behind that why did you select that reference for that shot? That way, like if you could explain a little bit of in detail about the shot which you did, which you shared.
So for example, there's the part where Perito goes, and they put me in a sock with a rock in it. And that part in storyboards was actually, he was doing something like this, like a rock. And his hands cannot do that. Like his paws don't have the ability to do this. It would not be clear in any way. And I just thought it would be funnier to exaggerate that. And I also kind of was trying to be like, you know, like, did you hear about it? But at the same time also gesture a rock. So it kind of became this like, with a rock in it. So it kind of had that idea of, you know, how do they even think about that? But also gesturing the rock. I think that idea, I think I spoke to someone about it, and he also like suggested this thing, and then I combined it into the rock thing. The reactions of Puss and Kitty, it was just a lot of iterations. There were a lot of different things that we tried until we found something that would be perfect. Yeah, it's stuff like that. So I will chat to with people. I will talk about it with others. I'll look at the storyboard. Sometimes I'll look at the actor actually acting it out when they record it and get ideas. Not always. Sometimes I'll just hear it and see the basic layout and I'll have an idea. But try to explore different things. I never just try one thing. I always try a few different things and then decide what looks best and ask others to help.
So this is something you have to learn or something you have to observe to understand these things.
What specifically?
like the acting, whatever we finalize, like, right? As an animator, we do certain actions, we do some acting. So this is something which everybody is not able to relate with. The like they cannot do, right? Animator, as an
Yeah.
animator, we do it. So we know and we finalize something for a shot that I think that this is perfect for this kind of a shot. So that thought which we think, is it that thing we have to learn, or is it that we understand from looking at those people or that kind of situations?
It's both. So you do have to observe a lot. Look at how people actually act. Start thinking about acting choices. You know, a lot of times even looking at live action stuff and at what kind, like good scenes, good acting moments, and understanding what they did that made it so good. Um, it is a learning curve. I do think I still have a lot to learn. So just like asking other people, listening, reading, looking, watching, and trying different things. I get notes. I try all of them. Even if I don't like the note, I will try it. Um, and then a lot of times it makes it much better and something that I didn't even think to do. So yeah, and it doesn't even mean that you're good or bad, because even the best animators, they need an outside eye to bring a different perspective
Yes.
and throw another idea, and it's really a collaborative thing. That's kind of why I don't love how remote some jobs became, because I think that it's so important. I know some people disagree with me, but I think that in such a creative job, I think it's important to be with others and not close yourself off. And we are getting over that. Like we have some people that we hired remote at DreamWorks, and we find ways to compensate for it. We have a lot of talks and that we schedule and meet them, and a lot of chats that just offer that. So it's just harder. It's not impossible, but it's harder. And there's a lot that I learned by just walking the hallways and seeing someone do something like, well, that's really cool. How did you do that? Just today, I had a friend that I saw her shot finaled, and I thought it was really good. So I messaged her and I'm like, how did you do it? And then she sent me her process, and we talked about it a little bit, and I learned a lot from her. Her name is Lindsay Langston. She's great. So yeah, especially when you work with such amazing people.
Yes.
But even before, you reach out to people that you admire, or even the people that you're studying with. Like, yeah, right now they're students just like you, but one day they won't be students, and they will be the people in jobs that maybe you're hoping to get as well, and they will be the people who recommend you because they know you and your friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's a quite different process there, right? So there, here in India, we have deadlines, quite a short deadlines we have for doing
Yeah.
things. So I was in one of a company where I worked on this DreamWorks project, which was a series, Dragons. That was
Oh yeah.
Dragons, the
Cool.
Rescue Riders. So I was on that, and when I came to know about this stuff, actually how DreamWorks works, so it's quite different to work on the project there and to work maybe those projects like their projects, but to work in India, it's quite a different scenario
Yeah.
both the way. And
I
if
think it's different budgets too. So
yes,
that's
yes,
part
yes,
of it.
that's
Yeah.
deadlines also matter. Like this project is really quick, and this is like a feature film, so it has to be different.
For sure.
So, what is the process of getting into DreamWorks? If somebody has to get into DreamWorks, what they would think or what they should do?
I'm
What?
gonna ignore the visa part for a
Okay,
little bit because that's a big part too.
okay.
But I would say,
So, as a
or
showreel, what do they look at?
um, well, everything. I think that it is good to show variety, but if you're really, really good and you don't have variety, that's fine too.
Okay.
I think you need to know what you're applying for. So if someone comes with a mocap reel to DreamWorks, that's not very relevant, or just in general, like more live actiony stuff. It's not as relevant as bringing something that is more that style. They want to see that you're able to do that. And this is for DreamWorks, but the same for
Any
if
studio.
you're applying for MPC. I went to SIGGRAPH or CTN, I don't remember, but I went to the MPC stand and I showed them my reel, and she's like, "This is not what we're looking for. Why are you even showing this to me?" And she's right. I just wanted to get feedback, and I was trying, but you should always try.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't hurt to get the no. Like, it's not like they'll never look at your reel again. But I'm just saying that if you have a goal, then try to cater towards that goal. If you're looking into more cartoony stuff, then try to do more cartoony stuff. And so there is all of that. I think that it's not important to render things out. Like, you can show play blasts, and that would be fine too. They want to see that you are able to bring characters alive and are able to really like put those things that are very specific and not generic. Like, oh, I have an idea. That is not specific. That is very generic. Like, oh, I have an idea, and that's like just thinking, having those eye darts and stuff. That's thinking, breathing. The character is alive, and ideas in story. Like, if you do a little piece, then you want to think of some fun ideas. For me, it was, for example, the flight attendant piece is just how a flight attendant gets super frustrated with no one listening to her. She's like, okay, whatever. She just jumps out of the plane. So stuff like that. Just bring from your own world, from your own stories, and just work hard and
Coming to the end of the show, and just a couple of questions. Like, what would you suggest to a beginner, as like if they are really wanting to pursue career as an animator? So what would you really suggest them?
That are students or not students?
Like, they are just thinking of, there are a lot of people who just think by looking at the films, they think that, oh wow, they really get fascinated about that stuff, but they actually don't know what animation is and what the process is, everything. They don't know anything. So what is it that they should focus on at that time?
I think, first of all, a lot of research. So watching things like your show or artists actually talking about what they're doing. There's a really good, it's pretty old by now, but there's a really good video that DreamWorks did. It's penguins in Madagascar. They show the pipeline of animation. And just watching that and understanding what the pipeline is like. And if it's animation specifically that you want, then look for the artists and try to understand what they do and look at their process and understand what it means to be an animator. And then there are online schools. It's not cheap, but it's not as expensive as going to a degree. So if you don't totally know yet, then that's probably a better option to start with. And it's a good test. You can do one course and realize, actually, this isn't really what I want to do, or I love this and let me take a more advanced class now.
So degree and mentorship is just a choice, right? Nobody looks at where you learned from, right?
I mean, they don't care.
Yeah.
If you'll have it on your resume, but they don't care. If your reel is good, that's the first thing they look at. They look at the reels. Your reel is good? Oh, very cool. And then you go to the final round. Then maybe they'll look at your resume, but it doesn't really matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the thing I really want to get into those beginners. Like, in India, there is so much lack of awareness about this industry that people tell them, they make them fool that you're going to get a certificate, and they just keep on chasing the certificate. They actually don't know what that certificate is valued or not when you get into animation. Nobody cares where you learn from. It's just what you know.
Matter.
Yeah.
The certificate isn't what matters, but I will say that in Israel, the best school that actually gives you the tools, that's not online. There are a lot of online schools that are great, but I mean, like, physical school, if someone works better just in a physical classroom, they give a certificate. but I don't think that's the goal. The goal shouldn't be the certificate. The goal should be the school is good. You
Yes.
know?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I mean to say. Like it's not only the certificate. You
Yeah.
just don't focus on I'm going to get a certificate. You focus on what am I learning here? Is it
Exactly.
the right thing or not? And I have seen people, I was so shocked when I heard that from a student, and he was not even taught, like he wanted to become an animator and he was creating a modeling showreel. And I was
Yeah,
so
that's
shocked
awful.
listening to that. And
Yeah.
he has invested lakhs of rupees, like in India, big amount for getting into animation. So that makes no sense,
Yeah,
right?
and I've
Like,
seen that happen also when I was at school. I worked at Ringling College just on campus, and sometimes there would be days for accepted students, or just a day where potential students, can come and see the school and ask you questions and everything. And I've had a lot of times where some people that came to see the school, they're like, "Oh yeah, well, I think I want to go to CalArts." I'm like, "Okay, what do you want to do?" "I want to do animation." "What type of movies?" "Oh, I want to do, I don't know, How to Train Your Dragon." I'm like, "That's 3D." And they're like, "Yeah, I want to do 3D animation." Okay, CalArts doesn't really focus on 3D animation. So, or the other way around, you want to do more 2D stuff, then then Ringling wouldn't be the place for you, you know? So
yes, yes,
it's
yes.
just, yeah, it's exactly what you're saying, pretty much.
So it took so long for us to get into this thing. And I just want to know, why did you feel that, yes, let me get and inspire people, or let me get here and talk to deliver something, I share my time.
I
So,
actually do a lot of these, but sorry.
yes, I mean to ask, like, what did you feel like? Why did you feel connecting and sharing your time here and
Yeah.
educating the people?
So I actually do a lot of these because for me, this was super helpful when I was starting up. And, there's not much I can do to pay those people back except for paying it forward to the next person. And I
Yes,
hope that people that hear these kinds of things and get inspired and end up having that skill and getting to that level will also do this in the future and help out the next generation of
yes,
artists. But
absolutely.
yeah, I wouldn't have been here without a lot of people along the way. Just are such a big part of the reason I got to where I am today. So yeah, it's just the minimum I can do, and
Yes, yes,
I enjoy these things. I don't know, I just
yes,
like it.
yes. Same, same. I
Yeah.
enjoy as well talking to
Yeah.
people, and I feel like whatever mistakes we made, at least we face some challenges. So our next generation, whoever is coming,
Right.
they should not
Exactly.
have that stuff. They can have some other challenges, but not the same which anybody else has already struggled. Right.
Right.
So learn from those mistakes and be a smart learner so that you can
Right.
grow fast, rather than making those same mistakes and wasting your time, your money, and everything. And
Right.
that's
I
what
agree.
my goal is, to educate people into animation, and then showing them the right path of, according to their what their capability is, and about their finances as well. Like if they are not able to pay so much amount of and invest in big schools, so it's better to learn from somebody who can help you and give you the right direction, at least not
Right.
investing so much and making a modeling showreel, right?
I
Right.
agree.
So that's the thing. That's the thing. I really want to convey that message to everybody. And that is the main goal. And that is why I'm doing this and getting people from the industry, so that when you guys share your experience, so they know
Yeah.
that that's the real person working in that industry. So they
Yeah.
know better than them. Right.
Right.
So thank you
Yeah.
so much. I'm really
Thank
grateful
you.
for your time, and thank
Thanks
you
for having
so
me.
much for joining in. And at the end, if you would like to share anything about this show, or anything you want to share with the viewers, you can share.
Um, I can finish with my. I have a uh, tips page. So these are just the tips I like to end with a lot of times. First of all, enjoy the journey. It's not all about getting there. It's also about enjoying the way to where you want to get to. Like once you get there, what's next? You're gonna have to find another goal.
Yes.
So really enjoy learning, enjoy every step of the way. Open your mind. I think a lot of the opportunities I got, maybe they weren't specifically what I wanted. For example, going to Hasbro and doing a generalist position, I knew I wanted to be an animator, and yet I took that and I learned a lot, even though it's not what I want to do for life. Or I didn't think I would be in games, and I applied to write games anyway, and I got it, and actually it was an amazing experience. Yeah, be ambitious and let setbacks motivate you. It's really important to actually take those failures and use them to like push through and learn from them.
Mhm.
And there's no I in team and make friends, not connections are kind of under the same category. I think it's important to remember that the people that recommend you at the end of the day are usually your friends, and they're not just people that you reached out to on LinkedIn. Yes, you might get to that level with someone you originally reached out to online, but those are things that take time. And the people that are sitting next to you and working with you and studying with you and doing all of these things with you, those are the people that will eventually open up the most doors for you. And you should help them and have them help, and they will help you in return. So it's really a collaborative
Yes,
field.
this is what I feel as well, because that is why I don't keep these shows very to the point, and I get into more of a casual talk, so that we can build a relationship rather than just getting into specific, okay, you came, okay, you give this answer, and that's all,
Yeah.
right? So it's all
Yeah.
about building relationships as well. And by that,
Exactly.
we can help each other. Maybe you need some help where I can help you with. Maybe I need some help you can help me with. So
Right.
that's the whole point.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming here, and really
Thanks.
had a nice talk with you, and got
You
some more key points from your talk as
too.
well. So I had
Thanks.
this with Prashant as well. Prashant
Yeah,
was,
he's great.
was there.
He's my neighbor in the studio. He sits right next to me.
So he is really a humble person, and I
He
really
is.
appreciate him coming in. And he was the guy who inspired me to do this. And yes, I'm
Oh,
here again. So these, I really appreciate you guys, because when you say yes, and when you inspire us to yes, we can also do this thing and help others, right? So when
right.
you take a step, I have taken a step here, but if I get a step from some other people as well, so that's when we complete a mission, right? It's not a single journey
Mhm.
which I can go with,
That's right.
right? So thank you so much again, and
Thank you.
we have come to the end of the session, and maybe
Thanks.
we can connect later on. We'll see if we could connect on some other topics.
That was great.
So thank you so much. See you
Thank you.
again. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye. You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye. Take care.